Hello, hi there. So, welcome to the Town at Eastbourne live making workshop. My name is Rachel, and this is the third artist-led making workshop that I'm doing in this series. I think we're back on. So last week we were looking at doing a paper folding dip dye technique, and then this week we're going to be using cardboard materials and constructing with those. So maybe just while a few more people are joining us. So these workshops are all part of the hashtag Makeshift Studio project, which if you don't know already is a simple making challenge set by the Towner team each week using materials and equipment that you'll probably find at home already. So you can access all the previous recordings on this Instagram at hello_Towner, on the Towner Eastbourne Facebook and the website too. So this week's making prompt is build up. So we're thinking all about construction, and we're taking inspiration from a really beautiful artwork in the collection by artist Eric Revilius. It's called Lombardy Poplars, and it's like this, I'm going to describe it to you, but I really urge you to take a look at it because it's quite good inspiration this week. So it's a landscape picture with these tall poplar trees, and they're all in different tones of green. But what's really interesting about this picture, I think, is that the trees all look really flat. So we're taking inspiration from that today. So we're turning 2D into 3D and constructing with these different cardboard shapes. So there's just a few more things to go over, which we do every week before we get started. So just to say that everyone is really welcome to take part and make along or just watch along, and that's totally fine. Please do ask permission if you're borrowing anything. If you're a child, please do ask to work with an adult, and this one's a little bit tricky, so I think definitely make sure that you've got someone with you to support if you need. If you're going to use any extra materials, please don't use anything sharp, precious or breakable. And if you've got any questions while we're making, please do put those in the comments, because it's always really nice to sort of be able to answer things or just hear about how you're getting along. So I really enjoy that too. So I'm going to go over the materials that we're going to need for this workshop. It's a sort of two-parter, so you're welcome to do as much or as little as you want to of this activity, or maybe you just want to check it out and see what happens and make a decision afterwards, and that's fine too. So the first part is making our cardboard constructions. So you can see those here, either side of me, and then I'll just show you the second part a bit closer so that you can understand what we're doing. The second part is going to be making our own papier-mâché clay using egg boxes. So I've turned mine into these figurines, animal figurines. So we're also thinking about the natural world this week as well. That. And that one is a sort of plump fox beggar. Brilliant. So now those are out the way, so I've got a clear working area. You might want to, if you're going to make along today, find yourself a clear working area as well. And for the second part, it can get a little bit messy, so maybe you want to be near a sink for the second part, but that's fine, but I'll go into that again. So I'm going to put the trees down as well, put them to one side. So the materials that we're going to need for the first part is super simple, and that is just scrap cardboard, scissors and a pencil. So that's all we're going to need for the first part. So I'm imagining that maybe you could have a look in the recycling, see if you've got anything in there. So I've got brown cardboard here, but maybe you've got some sort of like food packaging that's got labels on. That'll work fine too. So we're just thinking about that for our construction, which is the first part. And then for the second part, we're going to be making our own papier-mâché clay. So here's a little bit in a bag that I'd made earlier. So for that second part, we're going to need egg boxes. So I've done quite a few tests, and I found that egg boxes work really, really well because you can tear them you don't need scissors or anything like that. So you really know that it's a nice soft material, soft cardboard. So just an egg box or a couple of egg boxes would be good. And then a large bowl, like so. And then access to water. So actually I don't have access to water here at the moment, but maybe you can get access to water via a sink or something like that, or you could get a jug of water to work with as well. You'll need some salt. A bit confusing, like we're doing some cooking, but you need some salt, some PVA glue. So I've just got normal standard PVA glue here, and then a sieve or a tea towel. So I've gone for a tea towel, so that's easy to get clean as well. Afterwards, maybe sieve be a bit trickier to get clean afterwards. And then some extra materials, which you don't have to have, but could be good if you do, is masking tape. So that's a sort of nice papery tape on the outside, so it's not plasticky. And some newspaper, scrap newspaper again. So that's all we're going to need. So really a lot of this stuff is very much from the recycling bag, so it's quite good. So hopefully you can find some alternatives or different versions of those you might need. Right. So I'm going to get started and show you how to create your own freestanding construction made from cardboard. Oh, someone's saying here they've got some massive card sheets from a delivery. Perfect, because you know sometimes deliveries arrive with big sheets and things like that. That'd be perfect to use. Great. So what I'm going to get my bits ready. Do them a bit closer to me. I've got like animals roaming free on my desk at the moment. So I'm going to get my cardboard a bit closer to me, scrap cardboard. And I'm just going to show you how to create your own freestanding cardboard tree, because I feel like a tree is a good place to start, because you can't really get a tree that doesn't look like a tree. I don't know if that makes sense. But basically all trees are different, so in the natural world they all look different, so it's totally fine. You can just have a go at drawing a tree. So I'm going to show you that upside down so you can see. So I'm just going to work quite quickly, but you can take your time and draw the outline of a tree. And I'll tell you what I've done, why I've left this really wide base at the bottom of my drawing, because the trunk of a tree is really narrow. So if I only left that narrow bottom, it might fall over because I've got a lot of leaves on top of this. So you might want to make a stand for your tree at the bottom there. And actually, I've already cut one out earlier. Ta-da! So here's the one I cut out earlier. So we just got one tree cut out there, and then you can lay that on top of another sheet of cardboard, and this is a good tip because then you've got your template for your second one. So I'm just holding that down and drawing all around the edge. So if you don't want to do a tree, you definitely don't have to. There's lots of other shapes you could try out and create, like so. So I've drawn my tree, and then I'm just going to cut that out really quickly. But you can take your time. So I was thinking about, you know, how easy it would be to cut through the cardboard, and my scissors aren't, you know, they're not super sharp or anything like that. And as long as I'm being careful and I'm moving the cardboard, keeping the scissors facing away from me, it's actually not too bad just to move the cardboard round, maneuver that round to carefully cut out the shape. Like so. Okay. Great. So I've got two trees nearly identical there, and then the only thing I need to do now is cut a slot in both of them so that they fit together really nicely. So I'm going to show you that on the first one. So I'm going to cut a slot now from the bottom, to the middle of the tree. So I'll angle that so you can see me doing that. There we go. So I've just cut one slot there up the middle. So this is fine, but because my cardboard's a little bit thick, you can see here, I need to get another piece of cardboard to fit in there. So it's no good just having that one slit. I have to cut out a really small piece about the same thickness as the cardboard I'm using. So can you see that there? So I've taken off a really small piece there. So that's my first one done. Then I'm going to lay that tree on top of the other one. So just get them lined up, turn them over maybe, on top of the other one, so they're lined up. And then, taking my pencil, I'm going to mark in where the top of my cut is, the top of my slit. So you can see there. So you can see it there, that little dot. So make it a bit bigger so you can see. So that is where the top of my first slit goes to. So now I need to cut from the top to the middle in the next one. So maybe actually some people might have made these during Christmas time. This sort of looks like a bit of a Christmassy tree actually. And take that slit out as well. Okay. So then quite simply, I'm going to put those two together, see if they fit. Whew, they do. And stand it up. Whew, there we go. So, I mean, I'm not holding that. I could actually maybe tidy the bottom up a little bit so it's a bit flatter. There we go, that's a bit better, more stable now. So you've got your very own freestanding tree. So you could try that with lots of different shapes. You could make a whole series of trees, a whole forest, all in different shapes, and maybe, you know, colour them in or add different things to them. So I thought that was a good place to start with. I'd also really like to show you how to do something a little bit more advanced. So this was only 2 pieces of cardboard, but I'd like to show you how to make maybe one of these animals or something like this. So inside of all the animals I've created that I showed you earlier is a cardboard skeleton. So using slotted cardboard, and then I bulked it out with the papier-mâché clay. So first of all, we need to start with our cardboard skeleton. So I'll show you that one. I got a nice comment here. It's like a mini theatre set. Yeah, and it's great for storytelling, exactly. So you could create your own worlds and have them sort of reenacted in front of you, which would be quite nice. Or like move the figures around. I'm saying that these guys are like hopping around the desk or something when I'm not looking. Right, so I'm going to show you how to create a 4-legged animal. And this can be adapted, so you could do different, you know, shapes. But I'm going to show you a very basic one to start with, which is this sort of sheep shape, like ship shape, but sheep. So I've drawn this out already so that I can, you know, it's a template, so you can adapt it. So this is the advice I would give you if you want to start making a 4-legged animal, is to maybe you can go online and search for images of what that animal looks like from the side view, from this side view. So this is sort of what a sheep looks like from a side view. And then just divide it into different shapes. So for the head and the body, I've done this oval shape for the head, and then a much bigger oval shape for the body. And then I've joined up the 2 lines. Someone says you could take photographs. Exactly, so you could go out actually and see animals and trees in real life and then try and recreate them. And then someone else is saying they're going to try and make a forest of Christmas trees. Oh, yes. And then add the coffee filters from the last. Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I want to see that happening. So, so this is the head and the body shape. And then I've got another one, a circle for the head, and then I've had to add in the ears on that one. So they're sort of sheep ears. But if you're doing a different animal, you can adapt that. And then I've got 2 circles for the body and 2 legs on each. Okay, so you can always, you know, when this recording goes online, you can always pause it and have a little check if you need to on that. But that's the basic template which you can adapt. I've also got the pre-cut version which I've done already, and then I'm going to show you how to slot those together so that you can get your own freestanding animal shape too. Right, so I'll start with the leg shapes, which I've already cut out. And like the tree, I'm going to cut from the bottom bit, but in the middle, to, actually it's easier if I show you, the bottom of the middle of the shape to the middle there. So then I'm going to take out that slit. Whoops. There we go. Can you see? And I'll do the same for the other one. Great. So I've got my 2 like that. And then on the body, I need to do the opposite. So the slit needs to go from the top to the middle. So on this one, I haven't laid it on top because I find that because these pieces are so small, you can sort of guesstimate where the middle is. But also, we haven't used any glue or anything, so if anything goes a little bit wrong, it's not a problem, and we can either use tape to try and fix things together a bit easier, or we could even just, you know, cut a little bit more off, so it's nothing's a problem with just using these materials. And I'm just slotting them into the shapes. Ooh, that one does not want to go. So maybe that's an example. Oh, there we go. But maybe I could have cut that slot a bit bigger. There we go. So we've got our own little animal there standing up. Is it going to work? Ta-da! Yes, it does work. So we've got our own freestanding animal there, and maybe you think that that's fine and you can add the ears on a different way, but I'm also going to add the face shape on. So similar to the others, cutting from the bottom to the middle, taking out that little extra piece, and on the next one from the top to the middle, ooh, I'm taking off that little extra piece. Lovely. There we go. Here we go. So he's got actually really big ears. This is my sheep shape, but you can really adapt that, and I'd love to see if someone can make something maybe like a bit bigger, or maybe you could do a more difficult shaped animal like a giraffe with a very long neck, because actually getting the balance of how much neck there is to how much body could be quite interesting. Let's see that stand up on its own. It does. Ta-da! I hope you're not being disturbed by there's a little bit building work behind me there, but you know, let me know if you haven't heard anything or if you need to ask any questions, because that's totally fine. So that is my very own sheep shape, and actually I could leave it like that. I could decorate it at this stage, maybe using paint or just felt tip pens. Lots of different variations. I could make a whole farm of them, a whole zoo, anything really. I'm going to show you now how to add a little bit more 3D-ness to this animal. So if we think about this as a cardboard skeleton, now what we're going to be adding on is like muscle or something like that. So I'm going to be using some just scrap newspaper, and quite simply, tear a bit off there, just scrumple it up, make it into a little package of material. So this is sort of for the belly part there. And then using my masking tape, which is also excellent because you don't need any scissors for masking tape, you can just tear it. I'm going to carefully pop that in the belly area and then stick it on with a little bit of tape. Masking tape or paper tape is good because glue sticks to it really well. So you can see there that I've started to bulk up my animal. And I can keep working on that and make it, you know, quite bulky and quite shapely, and just really get the different contours and the different shape of the animal. But let's move on to the next step now. I did say that there were quite a few steps, didn't I? So, you know, you could create a whole series of animals like that if you want to, and then we're going to cover it in paper mache clay. So again, I'm going to put that to one side, get a little bit more space. And my desk, my menagerie animals, all the animals here. Okay, so the first part of making your paper mache clay, because this is a slower process, so if you're doing this live along with me, we'll make a start today, but it will probably be tomorrow or even the day after that you'll finish this off. So, you know, this is a nice slow process, and if you've ever worked with any clay before, you'll know that clay is a slow process to do. So I'm just going to rip up the rest of my egg box, which is nice and easy to do, super easy. I don't need any scissors. Even these bits, which look like they're a bit more tricky, but they can be torn too. If you've got anyone with very little hands, maybe you would need a little bit of help for that, but I think egg box is pretty good because there's no sharp edges on this. Nice and easy to do. Right, so then I'll finish that whole egg box. You can see I'm not putting it in super small pieces, smallish pieces is fine. And then what I'm going to be doing with this afterwards is pouring in warm water to cover up to the egg boxes, so that all of those egg boxes begin soaking in warm water and get really, go a very dark colour, and it means that all the egg boxes have absorbed lots of the water. And then you can return to that and break it up again into really small pieces so that eventually it becomes something that looks like this. So this is one that I started the other day. So actually this has been mush now for about 2 days actually, but you could leave it overnight and have it in a very good mushy state. So you can see here, it's a bit like blue porridge with a little bit of yellow, because my egg boxes were blue and yellow this time round. So yeah, so very mushy state at this stage. So if you don't like getting messy, you could, you can try and maybe wear gloves or do something else, but I quite like the, I don't mind getting messy myself. Oh, someone's asked here, why warm water? So warm water I find breaks down the material a bit quicker. You could even use hot water, but because I'm going to leave it overnight, it's fine just to put a bit of warm water on it. It will cool down and that's fine. So this is quite cold now, but it's no problem there. So I'm going to put those in here so I can do this later, because I don't have access to a sink on my desk, but you can put your egg boxes aside in the warm water and see how they look tomorrow when they become a bit more like this stage. Okay, so I need to now get rid of lots of the excess water in here. So I'm going to do that. This is maybe my favourite stage in the process. I'm going to put this tea towel down. So I'm allowed to use this tea towel, but if you need to ask permission to use one, please do. And then I'm going to pour in my pulp, my wet pulp in there. If you're working over a sink, that might be a good idea, and then you can be doing that over the sink here. And then I'm going to show you a magic trick. I'm joking. It just looks like I am. And this is my favourite part of the process, because you get to squeeze this wet ball of paper, which is really fun. I've never made cheese, but I sort of imagine it's sort of like this. And I'm actually working really hard to get rid of lots of the water on there. Oof. So yeah, if you need to dry off any areas with some tissue, please do so afterwards. Or, wipe them down with your tea towel. Bit more, there's a bit more in there. And I would encourage you to really take this stage a bit slower and just make sure that you do get rid of all the water, because it will make it much easier later on. But you might be using a sieve, and a sieve will work well too. If you give it a good stir, get rid of all the water. It's funny squelching noises happening. Ooh, working very hard. Okay, so then we don't need that water anymore. We'd be pouring it away if I was near a sink. Sorry, there's some quite loud bikes as well today, lots of noises. So the squelching and the bikes. Yes, so someone's commented that there's so much water that comes out. Exactly. So you really just, see how much you can get out of there. And then it will turn into something like this, which is very crumbly paper again. So that's what we want. We want it to have got rid of all the moisture pretty much and just be this crumbly paper. So I'm going to put that in there. So this was probably about, 2 egg boxes. So actually you don't get much from your egg boxes at all. So maybe you want to ask around, see if you can get some more egg boxes somewhere. Or actually I went into my local shop and they have a lot of spare egg trays. So maybe you could do that too. Right. So I've got my dry pulp now in the bowl, which looks good. And then I need to add in a few more ingredients. So I'm going to add in a tablespoon of salt. This is just normal table salt, like that. So all of these measurements from now on don't have to be exact. So it might be a case of you don't have that much salt, and that's fine, you could use less. But the salt acts as a sort of preventative of mould, so we won't get any mould growing on our animals later, because that would be really quite horrible. So the salt is helpful in that sense, but it's not essential. So if you don't have any, really don't worry. Okay, so I'm just going to mix that in slightly. And then the next thing is adding in glue. So this is the part which, really isn't very exact, but I start with for 2 egg boxes, I'd start with about 6 tablespoons of glue, and then see from there. I think this is the 6th one. Yeah, okay. And then again, if you don't like getting messy, you could put on gloves, or you could use a spoon, but I don't mind getting messy. So I'm gonna make another really nice squelching sound and bring all my mix together. Ooh. So papier-mâché actually means chewed paper. Ooh. So while I'm doing this with my hand, it's sort of chewing it up even more and making those paper fibres really bind together. And I've been quite interested looking into different papier-mâché makes, and I even came across a chair that was made from papier-mâché. Can you imagine making a whole chair, like a normal sized chair as well, quite a big one, from that? So actually this is pretty good, but I could do with adding a bit more glue to that, I would say. Bit more glue. So you can see that the measurements aren't exact on this. It's a little bit about experimentation at this stage. Okay. So I'll just add that in. Someone said that sometimes they have blue trays from fruit. Exactly. Actually, yeah, that's a really good point, because sometimes on soft fruit they do have this very similar or the same even material as egg boxes. So you could always try and use that and see how that works. I really like using the egg boxes because you don't have to have a blender. A lot of recipes online will recommend you using a blender, which seems like a little bit of too much equipment for my liking. But of course, if you do have a blender and you're allowed to use it, that will make your paper breakdown even smaller, so it will be a nice smooth mix. So I could keep going with that, and actually I might even add more glue to that if I was going to try and get it to the right consistency. I'm just going to show you up close the one that I had made earlier. So now that, you know, once that's done, you can store it in a Ziploc plastic bag, a sealed plastic bag, so that then you can use it whenever you want to. Okay, so this is the other one that I'd made before, which I'd covered my animals in. So you can see it's quite smooth on the outside, but if you break it in half, you can see that the inside is still got all those fibres. So that's about the right consistency that you're looking for. But you can, you know, experiment and see what you think. Also, I found out that if it's too wet, if your mixture you put in too much glue, maybe put in some corn flour, which will just absorb some of the glue again. Right, so the final thing I'm going to show you is how to add your clay onto your animal, because I feel like that's quite helpful. And what I would do is I take off a small piece from my ball, and then I squidge it between my fingers so it turns into a little flatter piece, and then I start building with it. So it's a bit like our making prompt, where it doesn't happen instantly, but you can start to add and add and add different pieces on until you fill your whole animal. And if there's areas which are hollow or that you haven't added the newspaper to, you could make a shape to fill that gap. So that's a bit more of like a oval oblongy shape, and I could pop that in there into that gap and try and smooth it down a little bit. So it's all about turning 2D into 3D and making something flat sort of come to life. Okay, so you can see here how I would need to start building and building up the layers to really bring my little sheep to life, and end up looking like something a bit more like this. And if you're thinking that sheep actually looks a little bit funny, the blue one, oops, he's fallen over, this blue one, it's because it was meant to be a deer. So it was meant to start life as a deer, and then I added a little bit too much of the papier-mâché clay, so it got a bit more sheep looking. And then I tried again with my deer and tried to make my legs much thinner and my neck much longer on my animal. So you can really see how you can play with it, see what you can make. You could make your own complete world. Doesn't have to be animals. Could be, I don't know, making a house or making a boat. Lots of different things there that you could make. If anyone, would like to share what they've made, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Please do so. And it'd be great if you could tag us. So tag us at hello_towner, #makeshiftstudio. This would be great to see some outcomes there. Don't share any pictures of people unless you've got their permission though, please. And the next session is Thursday again at 2 p.m. If you've missed any of these steps or you're not able to watch this live, you can watch it back on the recording, or you could use the downloadable making guide on the website too. The recordings are on the Facebook, this Instagram and the website as well. So lots of chances if you miss any steps just to watch back. Thank you so much for joining today, because it's been lots of fun. And I've enjoyed showing you what I've made, and I just can't wait to see what you guys make as well. Okay, so thank you. Bye.